What's up, guys? Welcome back to Roensch Capital Charts. Today we're taking a look at Tesla, ticker symbol TSLA, on a variety of time frames in anticipation of the next trading day, Monday, February 12th. Well, Tesla stock here on the last trading day, Friday, as we head into this coming week, finished the day up 2.12%, about 4 points per share. Now let's take a look here at this name on a variety of time frames. This is, of course, the 1-minute chart, but there's not really a lot to gather here. What I want to do is I want to move on here to the 5-minute chart, and let's take a look at volume to get a gauge of any market bias that we're seeing as far as volume is concerned here on the name. So you see this big opening drive we had on Tesla stock, and you can see the volume was actually maintained that opening volume pretty well. And then as the stock, this is exactly what we're looking for. As the stock kind of started to pull back here in mid-morning, we saw volume tank off, okay? And then midday, we saw this little pump happen again. Volume correlated with the move, a nice increase. These are the exact kind of things that we're looking for to try to get a gauge of, okay, what is the larger sample size of the market? How does the larger sample size of the market more so feel about the movement? Are we seeing any obvious changes in volume that correlate with up or down moves? Again, truthfully, what you're looking for here, just one factor of many, by the way, is if you're a bull, you want big volume on up moves, low volume on down moves. Opposite if you're a bear. Okay, so really interesting movement here on the 5-minute chart out of Tesla stock on Friday. By the way, if you guys want to get my personal scalp setup alerts every single day, just push notification right to your phone. I'm alerting my personal setups ahead of time that I'm watching every single trading day, so that they're not too late, like I think is a very common thing. I alert the actual setup ahead of time that I'm paying attention to with context. Take a look at that first link in the pinned comment. The price does go up over time on all the memberships, but when you join at a particular rate, you'll be grandfathered in there for as long as you retain your membership, even if the price continues to go up. But let's now take a look at the 30-minute chart, and let's start getting contextual with those self-fulfilling prophecy levels like, the 50-period moving average, the 200-period moving average. So here on the 30-minute, we can see here immediately that 50-period is going to be highly relevant here in the very near term. It's about a 1.15% downside move away from a retest. So listen, if I'm a bull looking at the 30-minute chart, here's what I'm thinking. I want that 50-period moving upside as quickly as possible. And if we see a downside test of it, obviously I want to see that hold as a support, as we've been seeing the last 4 or so trading days. If I'm a bear, downside break ideally opens up a potential downside test for the 200 period. That's going to be the psychology of a lot of bears looking at the 30-minute chart here. And we should always understand both sides. Now let's move on here and take a look at the 4-hour chart. You can see that this one's a little different than what we've seen as of late, because Tesla has been in a bit of a downtrend as of late, of course. The 200 period on the 4-hour is actually up at around 222 approximately. That 50 period, though, is very relevant, currently sitting right around 187.60. So that one is approximately a 3.2%, 3.1% downside move away from where we currently are to make a test. So here's what I'm thinking. In the immediate future, in the context of this being a video primarily about tomorrow, okay, I want to see that 50 period on the 4-hour make a hard upside move, right? Close the gap a little bit between the stock price and that psychological level. I would love to see that in the coming days, get above 190, but understand that this is a longer time frame. So moves on these moving averages, the longer you go out, they take a little bit longer. But if we see a downside test of that from a bullish perspective, again, ideally getting that up as close to the current stock price as possible, but a downside test, obviously from a bullish perspective, you want to see that hold as a support. From a bearish perspective, a break downside of 190, down below that 50-period moving average here on the 4-hour chart. That would be a beautiful thing to see if you are a bear. All right. Let's now zoom out and take a look at arguably the most important chart of all on Tesla. I mean, listen, everybody in the world is watching this exact chart on Tesla, the daily with the 50-day and the 200-day moving averages on it. Those are not immediately relevant. Okay, we're currently kind of a move away from either of those. Couple of things here. If I'm a bull, I really have a couple things on my mind. 190 is somewhat of a psychological level. I don't really want to break back below 190 if I'm a bull. But, I mean, listen, really, if I'm a bull, we're about 3.5% about from a test of 200. That's well within reason to start talking about, you know, on a day-to-day basis on Tesla. If I'm a bull, listen, I want to see 200 break and hold. I want Tesla to be a $200 stock at least, again, if I'm a bull. Okay, break through 200, ideally retest it, and rip up out of that hole. Okay? If you're a bear, ideally you'd want to just see this break downside back below 190, but if we end up seeing a retest of 200, you don't want Tesla to be a $200 stock again. Ideally, you want 200 to act as that really heavy psychological level that we've seen it act as in the past, and, you know, reject as hard as possible and fade back down below, because really, if you're a bear, you want this thing back below 190, and really, if you're a bear, you want it back below that 177.50 to 180 region that we've been talking about so much as of late. Okay, now implied volatility. This tells us a lot about what the options chain, the traders, are telling us about the comfort of the stock. It's currently sitting in the low to mid range when compared to approximately the last 6 months or so. Understand, if you've owned options in the last really like 2 months, you've likely seen at this point some IV crush as implied volatility falls. But as that goes lower, not only does that open up the potential opportunity for new options buyers to experience some IV pump if we see IV returning upside back toward equilibrium in the short term here, but it also, the lower that goes, the more, quite literally, the options chain is saying they think Tesla is comfortable in this new price range. So ideally, with IV coming down, from a stock comfort perspective, you would want to see the stock price, if you're a bull, rising higher and higher and higher, and IV coming down. If you're a bear, you'd want to see that stock price tanking off with IV coming down, because it shows comfort. It shows the options chain pricing in less volatility. But also understand that IV going up will benefit call buyers who are owning purchased calls or puts. You still, of course, have to be right directionally, but that Vega pump, you know, never hurts if you've experienced it. It's a great thing. So I always want to put yourself in a favorable IV position. Let's take a look now at the bias here in the chain itself. So here on Friday, we have 2.71 million total contracts that were traded. Good sample size. 1.7 million of those were calls. 974,000 of those were puts. Heavy bullish bias on the overall ratio. The short-term perspective, right? The short-term speculators, the 0 to 20 delta range, 605,000 calls, 404,000 puts, still leaning bullish in the short term. And the mid to longer term, the 61 to 80, those in the money contracts, and the 81 to 100 delta range, those deeper in the money contracts, both also leaning to the bullish side. So listen, there's no opinion here, right? This is simply data. This is, the options traders are leaning bullish basically in every time frame here on from Friday. Again, as always, manage your risk. It's number one around here. The options traders can be wrong. This is simply one factor of many. Hey, if you got value out of this video, please subscribe to the channel. I'm making these every single day, covering Tesla constantly. And it is a brand new channel. Our goal is 1,000 subs within the next approximately 2 weeks, and I think we can do it with your help. So I appreciate it. Thanks a lot, and I'll see you in the next one.